You're playing Anime Rangers X and you have no idea which units are good. You scroll the Discord to look at their different tier lists, but see that they're all different with multiple explanations, and it's very confusing and you don't know what to do. Well, don't worry, in this tier list, I'm going to go over the definitive best units in Update 1.5. Obviously, this may change when the next update drops, but as far as Update 1.5 goes, these are the best units you need. Alright, so as you guys can see, we have our full tier list here. Now, I do apologize for some images being like this because they don't have all the models out. But we're going to start off very quickly with the units that haven't really changed since the last tier list I made and haven't really changed much at all. So Beru is going to be in trash. Obviously, some of the secrets haven't changed, but I will still show those. Tanjiro is going to be in trash. Bunny Girl Senpai is going... Sorry, Tanjiro is going to be mid. Bunny Girl Senpai is going to be trash. Quick explanation, Beru really does nothing. Her support ability is not that good. Tanjiro is very good for new players and very good for everything that's not really hard, right? So he's very cheap, very good. Katakuri is eh. Sukuna is mid, but he is better than Tanjiro because he does have an ultimate ability. Saber is also mid, she's just extremely cheap. That is all she's really good at. Shanks is also eh, probably a little bit worse than Katakuri. Doesn't really do a whole lot. Tank Top Hero actually did receive a buff, so he's no longer the worst unit in the game. He is probably also, he does do a lot more damage than he used to now. Dio is probably going to be at the top of, he's an okay unit, but overall takes quite a bit to Evo and not really worth it, unlike Tanjiro. Next we have Yoshino, who was a part of the Easter event. She's going to go top of mid as well because her support ability is decent, but she does not do a whole lot of damage or anything like that. Next, we have Itadori, who's going to go to the top of trash. He's relatively cheap, but he does no damage, has no health, isn't really that fast, and his price is okay. And then we have Zenitsu, who's also probably going to go trash. He just does no damage, does not have a lot of health, and is relatively pricey. But alright, now that we've got the ones that haven't really changed out the way, now we can get to some of the better units, or overall just some of the units that have received changes since the last time I made one of these. Alright, so first we have Ace. Ace is a very strong unit within Anime Rangers X because of how cheap he is and how much damage he does and how much health he has, right? And he's not slow, but he's not quick either, so he's kind of mid when it comes to stuff like that. But as you can see, mine maxes out at 10k damage at only level 50 with a good cooldown and a decent range. That's not bad. And 27,000 health is actually pretty decent. Although he is slowly getting pushed out, he is a very solid unit. With that being said, that is going to put Ace in the best tier, and that is purely because of how cheap he is. If he was even 500 yen more, he would probably just be in good tier. But he is so cheap, I can max him out immediately. I do not even have to wait. He is incredibly good for his price. Alright, next we have Itachi, who received an Evo and a buff since the last time we made one of these videos. Alright, so now we can talk about Itachi, and as you can see, this is him at upgrade 1. He is only one placement. And Itachi honestly isn't bad. As you can see, if you look at his stats, he's honestly very similar to Ace, except he's a lot more expensive. So that is an issue, and he is only one placement. So for that, Itachi is probably going to land in... I can't even put him good comfortably anymore. I think I'm going to have to put him in mid. Don't get me wrong, he does a decent amount of damage, he does a decent amount of health, but it's relatively the same as Ace. And by the time you evolve Itachi and get him to this point, you could have been sitting in AFK and got Ace already. If you're enjoying the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the summer ends, but with that being said, let's get straight back into the video. Alright, next up we have Gogeta, who is another secret unit and very difficult to obtain, but Gogeta is a lot more expensive. So, with Gogeta, this is his level 1 stats as well, because he is also one placement, right? So that is an issue, except for, see, his range is already big. Now, when you max him out, he does a lot of damage, has a lot of health, and his range is very big. So he is pretty much double the price of Ace, but 3 times as better, right? So Gogeta is a very good unit to get. He's very difficult to obtain, but if you get Gogeta and limit break him to 100, he will be your best unit, unless if you get some of the newer secrets that have come out recently. So with that being said, pretty easily, Gogeta is going to go ahead of Ace. Very good unit. He's just double the price of Ace. Well, then again, I do have Capitalist on my Ace, so he's not even double the price for most people. He's going to be slightly over, but that makes him one of the best secrets in the game, and although it takes a long time for most people, relatively easy to get him. Alright, next we have Igris, which unfortunately I do not have Igris, so I can't show you guys gameplay on that. But Igris is a tank unit, does not do a whole lot of damage, is very cheap though, but he is pretty much just a tank. But with newer units we have seen, that is not really necessary, so I'm going to put him in good because there are better options than Igris, especially if you need a tank. Alright, next we have Sunjin Woo. Now with Sunjin Woo, if you watch my last tier list, I did believe that he was going to become a meta unit with tournaments and longer events coming out, right? However, I could not be more wrong. Sunjin Woo is incredibly expensive, and I even have a trait that makes him cheaper, and he is still 1800, and look at his range. Yeah, and look at his damage. Now, that's not maxed out. This is maxed out, which is 6.2k, which still isn't a lot. His health is decent, but his speed is terrible. But I assumed that his shadows would be very useful in longer events, right? However, his shadows actually do 100 damage, so they are pointless. They actually don't help with anything. Once he summons another one here, I will show you, but he's pretty bad. He honestly doesn't help at all. He's way too expensive to help. And so overall, he's just really not that great. He's a poor man's Gojo, except you get Gojo the same way you get him, so I would never summon for Sunjin Woo. With that being said, that is going to land Sunjin Woo at the top of trash tier. He still does a lot of damage, so that's why I can give him the top. And he still has a good amount of health, but he is not worth bringing ever. So that's why he's going to be in trash. He is terrible. His ability is awful, and he's super slow. There's no point to bring him. I would rather run some legendaries over him. Alright, next we have Broly, who is the most changed unit in the entire game. He changes almost every update. Alright, so with Broly, if you know, or if you played the game when it came out, then you know Broly was the best unit when the game came out. Everybody wanted Broly. He was incredibly powerful, but since then he has received a lot of nerfs. As you can see, he only has 17k health, which isn't a lot, and he only does 5.5k damage, which also isn't that great. He's relatively quick, and they did make him cheaper. His ability damage is a whole lot worse. But overall, Broly has received a lot of nerfs. Now, he does have a passive. He gets +1 range with every kill, which does make him better. However, he's overall just not that great since the nerfs, right? They really nerfed everything about him except they buffed his speed and they made him cheaper, which is cool. But other than that, he's not really all that great anymore, which is sad. He used to be the best unit in the game. So with that being said, Broly is going to find himself in the top of mid-tier. I don't think he's terrible. He's a decent tank for most things. However, you could not take him into the new boss event, right? So he is not all that great, but he is relatively cheap, so that is pretty good. Alright, next we have Gojo. He has also received a lot of changes. He's probably the second most changed unit since Broly, and he has an issue similar to Sunjin Woo. He is incredibly expensive. But, unlike Sunjin Woo, he is incredibly good. You can look at his stats there. 50k HP, so he's a better tank than all of the other units we've went over, except maybe Igris, right? And then 22k damage. That is also more than a lot of the DPSs, if not all of them we went over. His only issue is his speed is very tiny, his ability damage is almost 200k, and his range is massive. So Gojo, although he is expensive, is entirely worth it. He is incredibly good, but since he's so expensive, he's not going to be quite in the best tier. Because if you were to max out Gojo and Gogeta, Gogeta is way cheaper, and he's going to do more DPS, right? And he's going to go quicker. So that is the only thing that holds Gojo back, is that they made him a lot slower, so he's no longer the best mythic in the game. So with Gojo, I'm going to put him at the top of good because he is a tank like Igris, but does way more damage. He's just slow. That is his only issue. Next, we have Madara, which is another secret that can be obtained whenever in the game through the Naruto story mode legend stages. Now, with Madara, he is another secret that you can get for free, but he is not similar to Ace and Gogeta at all. As you can see, he is attacking from here, because his range is massive, and it is full AoE. It is ridiculous. He has full AoE, range is huge, 50k health. He's another tank, right? If I had to compare Madara to someone without showing you guys the damage and everything, he is the better Gojo. He is just as slow, but his health is better and his damage might also be better. It's around the same, but his ability damage is slightly worse, but his range and cooldown are ridiculous. He is just a slightly better Gojo, right? But he is cheaper. He has a lot of upgrades. He has 6, so you won't be able to max him out right away, but all of his upgrades are cheap. His final upgrade is like 5 or 6k, so not a lot at all. He just has so many that it will deplete all you start with. So for that, that's going to put Madara into that best tier. Now, the reason I'm not going to put him above Ace or Gogeta is, again, just because of how slow he is. And with the newer events coming out, more and more so, speed is becoming necessary. If you do not have fast units for the boss event, it is going to be incredibly difficult. If you do not have fast units for the tournament, it is going to be incredibly difficult. Although he is slow, he is still one of the best units in the game. Alright, now we have Carrot, who I also don't have gameplay on, but she has an ability, she has a ton of health, and she does a whole lot of damage. She's going to go at the top of best for now. Her DPS is insane, and she has a support ability which allows her to freeze enemies, I believe. I'm not 100% sure since I do not have her, but she is incredibly strong. Alright, next we have Tatsumaki, who actually received a buff, I believe like an update or 2 ago. Alright, now we have Tatsumaki. As you can see, 17k health. Now, mine is only level 38, so it's not maxed out. So I imagine she'd be around 20, 22k would be her max. And damage right now is around 4.5, which I'd probably say it'd get around 5.5 to 6 when maxed out. Her range is not big. Her speed is decent. Her ability is okay. However, she is incredibly cheap and only a 10-second cooldown to place. So she's actually going to rank a little bit higher than many would think. I'm actually going to put her in the bottom of good tier. She is so cheap, she can run through the entire story for you, and she doesn't even have an Evo or anything, so it's very easy to use her. She's very simple, right? She has good DPS, she's very cheap, and yeah, she's just a meta story unit, right? You can't use her for like tournaments or for boss events, but she is very, very good for the story. Alright, next we have Yuta, which is another unit I don't have, but his DPS is insanely high. I do know that, and his range is pretty good. But I do believe he is comparable to Madara, so I'm just going to have him around there. You can flip-flop him either way, but from everything I've seen about Yuta, he's kind of just like Madara. Alright, next we have Killer Candy, who is the first Battle Pass unit you obtain in the Season 1 Battle Pass. Alright, so with Killer Candy, as you can see, she has a 20-second cooldown. Now, mine is only level 1 because I don't have any food to feed into her. So, yeah, her health and damage are literally the exact same. Her speed is decent, her ability damage is good. And I can already tell you, I believe her DPS is around 4k. She also has a passive which does bleed. It is very simple where I'm going to rank her. She is a good unit. Now, like I said, same thing with Tatsumaki, you can't really bring her into a tournament or boss event. However, she's free, incredibly easy to get. You can get her within an hour or 2, and yeah, she does pretty decent damage, has decent range, and has decent health, right? So she's going to be good just because of her capability. She's similar to Tatsumaki, but she's free. So, yeah. Alright, next we have, I believe his name is Umbrella Fang or something like that, but he's from the Battle Pass as well. He is the mid-tier unit. Alright, next we have Umbrella Fang with another 20-second cooldown. Now, as you can see, not a lot of health. As you can see, not a lot of range. As you can see by the stats, not a whole lot of anything. However, what makes this unit good is his passive. When a unit inflicts hurt, making enemies take 20% more damage. Now, there is a slightly better version of this, which I will be getting to. However, this unit is almost essential for the boss event. Now, you don't need it to complete the boss event, but it just makes things so much easier. So with that being said, I'm going to put Umbrella Fang in the top of good, just because of his ability alone. The only reason I wouldn't have him in best is because there's a unit that does something similar, but is better. And next we have the final tier in the Battle Pass, which is going to be Fat Shadow or Sakamoto from Sakamoto Days. So as I'm sitting here upgrading Sakamoto, he's actually a unit I've never really used before or seen before. Because he's so late in the Battle Pass, I think people didn't really care to test him out. So mine is level 1, so it is going to be difficult really to see his maximum potential, but let's just take a look. So as you can see, he has decent HP that'll go pretty high. His range is very bad. Basically, he seems like he's going to be a tank, right? But he has a passive, which gains 15% speed and when sent out. Okay, so that's not really that crazy. So for Fat Shadow, I think I'm probably going to put him in mid, just because he doesn't seem like he's going to be much else other than a decent tank. And next we have Rayleigh, which obviously no one has yet because the tournament does not finish. It may be finished by the time this video gets out, depending on how quickly I can get this done. But the tournament finishes in about 4 hours from now, whenever I'm recording this. And he seems like he's going to be I don't know about his damage. We don't know any of those numbers. All we know is his support ability, which I believe it has like a 5% chance to stun or something like that, or like 20% chance. He's basically a stun, so he seems okay, but there's better stuns, so yeah. Next we have Etto, another unit I don't have, but she is actually the #1 DPS in the game. So yeah, she does a whole lot of damage. She's going to go at the top, and just because of that, she does so much DPS. Next, we have Ken Kaneki. Alright, so now we have Ken Kaneki. I'm not going to wait to max upgrade him, because as you can see, mine is level 100. With Duplicator, I kind of know I use this guy all the time. As you can see, full AoE, large range, crit damage 150%, ability damage 300k. He maxes out at like 60k damage, I believe. And yeah, 80k health about. This guy is completely overpowered, by far the best mythic in the game. And with the passive, he gains damage every time he attacks, right? So, yeah, he's absolutely ridiculous. By far, best mythic in the game. So with that being said, him being the best mythic, I would have him probably over Carrot. His DPS and health is just absolutely insane. It is honestly ridiculous. Now, I could see the argument for this, so maybe I'll leave it like that, just because I don't have Carrot, so I can't rank her truthfully. But Kaneki is ridiculously overpowered. Next, we have Amon, I think is how you say his name. Honestly, I've seen nothing about this unit. There's no wiki page up for him. He is one of these secrets from the King K box, which I have not been able to get him. So, I'm not sure. I genuinely have no idea what this guy does. I have no idea about any of his stats. I know nothing about this guy. So, honestly, I'm going to leave him off. I do apologize for that. But every other unit I do know, so I do apologize. But next we have Arima, who is the best unit from the Tokyo Ghoul update. Now, I once again do not have him, so I cannot show you guys gameplay. But I know he does a ridiculous amount of damage, and he has a lot of health. And I believe he has an ability, plus he has an ultimate now as well. He received a buff already, and he was the best unit already, right? So, yeah, he's absolutely insane. Alright, next we have Void Mask. Alright, now we have Void Mask, which as you can see does not have a big range, does not do a lot of damage, and does not do a lot of HP. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, this is probably his level 1. No, he is max level, and this is his second to last upgrade. He is also incredibly expensive. Very expensive. So for that, that's going to land him in trash. I honestly could not see bringing him to anything. And for the next few units, I only have one of them, so I will be showing that. But for Juzo, I do have her, just not evoed. Now, Juzo does a pretty good amount of DPS, right? She's not bad, but overall, she's not a fantastic unit by any means. Next, we have Sid, who is probably the third best unit in the game. I know he's hyped up to be more than that, but he is so expensive. My friend pulled him, and he is ridiculous. Like, you are not going to be able to upgrade him in anything except the tournament. So, yeah, he has a big issue with price. So, he would be the best if you could use him in anything, but you can't. And then we have Delta, which I do have, but I will show her last since I do have her. This is the other banner secret. She is also incredibly good. I'd put her right above Sid. She does a lot of DPS, has a lot of health, very strong. And then lastly, we have Delta. Now for Delta or Pharaoh Fang, she's relatively cheap, although I do have Capitalist, so that makes her a lot cheaper. As you can see, her range is not that good. Her health is not that good. Her damage is actually decent, but that is not what makes her so good. She has a passive ability, and it's a lot. So the first enemy to enter their range receives 40 more damage. This unit also gains a 50% speed boost to rush towards the enemy. It ends once they attack, right? If Shadowborn is on the field, which is Sid, she gains 20% speed, 50% critical damage, and 20% damage. This unit is also essential for the boss event. It is ridiculous how much damage you can do if you have Barrel Fang and Umbrella Fang in there. Coincidentally, they both end with Fang. They are incredibly strong together. So for that, that is going to put her in the best tier. Now, she's going to go towards the end because she doesn't do a whole lot of damage. She's just an incredible support. Overall, there's a lot of good units you can get right now in the game, so this is what you should be going for. Now, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. You know, if you enjoyed it, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, help me out there. I've got my Twitch and second channel in the description as well if you want to hear more of me. Thank you for watching.